Welcome back, everyone. We're doing something a little different today.
Mm.
Usually, we looked at systems, how to organize your life, how to optimize your health, productivity hacks. But today, we are going deep. We are looking at the engine room.
The engine room, I like that.
We're looking at the specific mechanics of supply, money, wealth, the stuff of life.
It is the topic that, let's be honest, gets people the most excited and, frankly, the most irrational.
It absolutely does. And to navigate this, we're pulling from a really strange and eclectic stack of sources.
It's a great mix.
We're centering this conversation on Florence Scovel Shinn's 1925 classic, The Game of Life and How to Play It. But, and this is why I love doing this, we aren't just going to take her word for it.
No, we have to ground it.
We have to. So
Yeah.
we're cross-referencing her, let's call them spiritual laws, against Aristotle's Nicomachean ethics, the Stoicism of Epictetus, the Book of Proverbs, and even some very hard-nosed modern behavioral psychology.
Yeah, from researchers like Elizabeth Dunn and Albert Bandura,
Right.
which is honestly the only responsible way to talk about this.
Right.
If you just read Shinn on her own, it can feel a little bit like magic. Just wish for it and it appears.
Right, the wishful thinking trap.
Exactly. But when you layer Aristotle's virtue ethics and modern cognitive science on top of it, you suddenly realize she isn't talking about magic at all. She's talking about psychology. She's talking about systems.
So let's set the stage. In our last conversation, we established this core idea that life is not a battle, but a game of giving and receiving.
A game of boomerangs, as she puts it.
A game of boomerangs. I love that. Today, we are focusing on how to play that game specifically when it comes to resources, money, opportunity, material goods. And Shinn's premise is, it's pretty bold.
It is.
She essentially says that prosperity is not luck. It is not an accident. And it is definitely not magic.
Right. She says prosperity is a law.
A law, like gravity.
Exactly like gravity. It works whether you believe in it or not. Shinn argues that God, or, if you prefer, infinite intelligence, the universe, whatever word works for you, is a source of unfailing supply.
So the resources are just there.
They're there. The supply is infinite. But, and this is the big catch, that supply is only released through the individual.
Ah.
It is released through your specific actions, your specific words, and your specific faith. You are the valve that turns the flow on or off.
We are the valve. I love that image. We're the valve. Okay, before we get into how to turn that valve, I just want to say this right up front. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one.
So let's unpack this idea. Prosperity as a law. Shinn gives us like a tripod to stand on here. She says prosperity relies on three things.
Okay.
Expectation, which she calls faith.
Yeah.
Speech, which she calls the power of the word. And right action.
Expectation, speech, action. It sounds so simple, but I feel like that's where we mess this up constantly.
All the time.
But let's stick a pin in that word law for a second. Because my inner skeptic flares up immediately.
Of course.
Gravity is a law. Thermodynamics is a law. Making money feels more like, I don't know, a chaotic mix of timing, luck, and maybe who your dad knows.
Right. Nepotism.
Yeah. Is she being poetic, or does she mean a literal, actual law?
She means it literally, but we have to define the mechanism. This is where stacking her up against the Stoics is so important.
Okay.
If you look at Epictetus, or even modern systems theory, a law doesn't mean you get what you want immediately. It means action A consistently produces reaction B.
Cause and effect.
Simple cause and effect. Shinn is just arguing that we usually don't understand what action A actually is.
We think action A is working hard or hustling, and she's saying, what?
She's saying working hard is maybe 10% of the equation. If you work hard, but your internal schematic, your subconscious expectation is set to struggle, then the law dictates you will struggle.
So the law is working perfectly.
Perfectly. You're just feeding it the wrong data.
Yes, that makes so much sense. It's like a computer program. Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. And to really get why, we have to look at this mosaic context, connecting Shinn back to the ancients. Her idea aligns perfectly with the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. He talks about the ball game.
The ball game. I remember this vaguely.
So Epictetus says that in a game of catch, the ball itself is indifferent. Doesn't matter if the ball is made of leather or gold.
The ball doesn't care.
The ball doesn't care. What matters is how you throw it and how you catch it. In Shinn's context, money is the ball. Wealth itself is indifferent. It's just neutral energy. But how you play, your character, your integrity, your diligent hand, as the Book of Proverbs puts it, that's what determines the outcome.
So we get completely hung up on the ball of the money when we should be focused on our throwing arm, our technique.
Precisely. And Shin has this great concept that you cannot receive what you do not see yourself receiving. She says, every man has within himself a gold nugget.
A gold nugget.
But that nugget isn't physical gold in your pocket. Not yet. It is the consciousness of gold. It's the ability to perceive and expect abundance. If your consciousness is set to poverty, you could win the lottery tomorrow and, well, you'd be broke again in 3 years.
Which we see happen all the time.
All the time. Because the container, the consciousness, it wasn't built to hold the supply. The pressure of the wealth just cracks the container wide open.
Okay, so let's define what we actually mean by prosperity, because I think when people hear that word, they immediately think of, I don't know, private jets and swimming pools filled with diamonds.
Right. And that's not really what she's talking about, is it?
It doesn't seem to be.
No, not at all. And that's a trap. That's what Aristotle would call prodigality or a vice. Shinn's definition is much simpler. It's sufficient supply.
Sufficient supply. I like that. It sounds a lot more grounded.
It is. And if we translate this into plain English, we're really looking at 3 key components. First, sufficient supply just means having what you need when you need it. It is the absence of lack. It's knowing that if a bill comes in, the means to pay it are there or on their way.
Right. It's security. It's a feeling of reliability.
Second, it means open flow. This is crucial. Resources come in and resources go out without blockage. Money is meant to circulate. Shinn is very, very big on circulation. If you stop the flow, you stagnate.
You dam up the river.
You dam up the river. And third, it's clean opportunity.
Clean opportunity. What do you mean by that?
It means success that comes without harming other people or compromising your own integrity. Shinn calls this divine selection. It's the difference between forcing a deal that hurts someone else versus finding a deal that blesses everyone involved.
That has to connect back to Aristotle, doesn't it? The idea that the quality of the wealth actually matters.
It does, 100%. Aristotle would argue that wealth obtained through vanity or, dishonest means, it's not true wealth because it corrupts the person who has it.
Right.
True prosperity has to be clean.
So if prosperity is the natural state, if the supply is there and we just need to open the valve, what jams the valve? What are these prosperity blockers?
Shinn identifies a few major ones, and it's amazing how modern psychology backs her up on almost all of them. But the biggest one, the granddaddy of them all, is fear.
Fear.
Just fear. Shinn calls fear inverted faith.
Whoa! Say that again. Inverted faith. That is a powerful reframe.
Think about it. Faith is a strong belief in a positive outcome you can't see yet, right?
Right.
Fear is a strong belief in a negative outcome you can't see yet. It is the exact same mechanism. You're just using the wrong polarity.
Yep.
You are putting your faith in evil or lack instead of in good.
So when I am sitting up at night worrying about money, I am actually using my faith to create lack. I am actively visualizing the disaster.
You are. You're directing your creative energy toward the very thing you do not want. And modern behavioral psychology has a term for this. They call it the scarcity mindset.
The scarcity mindset.
Yeah, Senhil Mullainathan and Eldar Shafir have done some fascinating research on this. They found that when you are in a state of scarcity, when you're obsessing over what you lack, it physically reduces your cognitive bandwidth.
Your brain power.
Your literal brain power. They call it tunneling.
Tunneling. Okay, tell me more about that.
So they did this really famous study with sugarcane farmers in India. These farmers get paid once a year right after the harvest.
Okay.
So before the harvest, they are dead broke. They're pawning things. They are incredibly stressed. They are deep in scarcity. After the harvest, for a little while, they're rich. They have abundance.
Same people, same brains, just a different number in the bank account.
Exactly. And Mullainathan gave them cognitive tests, basically IQ tests in both states, before the harvest and after.
And what happened?
The results were just shocking. When they were in that state of scarcity, when they were worried sick about money, their IQ dropped by an average of about 13 points.
13 points? That's massive. That's the difference between an average IQ and being classified as borderline deficient.
It's huge. It's the equivalent of going to work after missing an entire night of sleep. When you are in fear, your brain physically tunnels its focus onto the immediate threat, pay the bill, pay the bill. And you literally lose the cognitive bandwidth to see long-term solutions or creative opportunities or new ideas.
That's incredible. So Shinn is saying fear blocks supply because of, let's say, spiritual vibes, and science is saying fear blocks supply because it makes you cognitively stupider and unable to see the exit.
Bluntly, yes. The fear creates the tunnel, and you can't see all the supply that's waiting just outside the tunnel.
Okay, so fear is blocker number one. What's the next one?
Grasping, or hoarding. And Shinn tells a very vivid, slightly terrifying story about this.
I'm ready.
There was a wealthy woman who collected necklaces. She had dozens of them, beautiful, expensive necklaces. But she never wore them.
Oh.
She kept them all wrapped up in tissue paper, hidden away in a safe. She just wanted to possess them, to own them.
I know people like this. Saving the good china for a special occasion that never actually comes. We all do this to some degree, don't we? We save the good wine. We don't wear the nice shoes because it might rain.
Exactly. And Shinn says that is a signal of poverty. You are signaling to your subconscious, I cannot replace this. This is the last nice thing I will ever have, so I must protect it. You are affirming lack.
It's the dragon on the pile of gold. It's smug.
It is. It's a static state. And Shinn says this violates the law of use. Use it or lose it. And in the story, the woman's arms actually became paralyzed.
Oh my goodness. Wait, physically paralyzed? For real?
Physically. She lost the use of her arms. Now, Shinn is writing in 1925, so we're looking at this through a metaphysical lens. But think about the psychosomatic connection. She gripped so tightly, metaphorically, that her body literally locked up. She lost the ability to hold anything because she refused to let go of anything.
That is a grim image, but it makes the point perfectly. If you dam up the river, the water goes stagnant and toxic.
Correct. The next blocker is resentment and envy. Shinn is so clear on this. You cannot attract what you criticize.
Ooh, that's a tough one. It's so easy to look at someone who has what you want and feel that little pang of must be nice or, eat the rich.
It is easy, but it's expensive. Shinn says if you see someone driving a beautiful car and your first thought is, I bet he's a jerk, or why does he get that and I don't, you are essentially telling your subconscious mind that wealth equals bad, or wealth belongs to them, not me. You are actively pushing it away.
Can you explain the mechanics of that? I mean, why does my opinion of some random CEO affect my own bank account?
Because your subconscious mind doesn't really understand other people. It just deals in concepts. So if you attach a negative emotion to the concept of wealth, if you associate money with greed, corruption, or generally bad people, your subconscious will work very, very hard to keep you from becoming one of those bad people.
Oh, that's interesting. So if I think rich people are evil, I will unconsciously self-sabotage to make sure I remain good and poor.
100%.
Yeah.
You are creating a psychological immune response to money. Your own mind is protecting you from what it thinks is a threat. Shinn says the only way to bypass this is to bless the prosperity of others. When you see the private jet, you have to force yourself to say, good for them. That is evidence that abundance exists in the world.
Bless it to attract it. Okay. What about spending? This one feels tricky. Shinn talks about fearless spending, but that sounds a little dangerous if you're, broke.
It does, and we have to draw a really clear line here between panic spending and fearless spending.
Okay.
Panic spending is compulsion, it's retail therapy, it's buying stuff to fill an emotional void. That is not what she is talking about.
Okay, good. Because I was about to go on Amazon and buy a boat.
Don't buy the boat yet. Fearless spending is about investing in yourself and your supply from a place of trust and intuition. Shinn tells this great story of the fur coat. There's a man who needed a winter coat. He had about $700 to his name.
Okay.
He found a beautiful fur-lined coat that was on sale, reduced to $500.
Wow, that's a huge chunk of his net worth.
Huge. Logic would say buy a cheap wool coat for $50 and save the money. But he had a hunch, an intuitive hit, that this specific coat was part of his image of success. So he bought the coat without fear. He felt rich in it. He felt successful. And shortly after, he landed a commission for $10,000.
So the coat changed his vibration. It changed how he walked into the room, how he presented himself.
Exactly. It broke the poverty consciousness. But the key was he didn't buy it out of recklessness. He bought it out of an intuitive sense of investment in his own success.
Got it. And the final blocker.
Black talk. Or, as Shinn calls them, the old-fashioned chats.
Oh, I love this phrase, old-fashioned chats. I know exactly what she means.
You know these chats. You sit down with a friend and you just spiral. The economy is terrible. Everything is so expensive. I'll never get ahead. Oh, and my back hurts.
It's the bonding over misery. It's a very common social ritual.
It is, and Shinn says it is absolutely lethal to prosperity. You are literally speaking barriers into existence. She says we have to replace them with new-fashioned chats, where you talk about what you are creating, not what you are dreading.
I love that. No more old-fashioned chats. Okay, so we have covered the blockers. Let's talk about how to actually get the flow moving. We mentioned circulation, but there is a core principle here she calls the game of boomerangs.
Yes, this is the core mechanic. The game of life is a game of boomerangs. What you send out returns to you. It's that simple. If you send out criticism, you get criticized. If you send out lies, you get lied to. If you send out generosity, you get resources.
This sounds a lot like karma, or what goes around comes around.
It is karma.
Yeah.
But Shinn adds this beautiful layer of Aristotelian ethics to it.
Hmm.
It's not just about, throwing money around blindly. Aristotle talks about the virtue of liberality.
Liberality.
Liberality is the golden mean when it comes to wealth. So imagine a spectrum. On one end, you have stinginess, illiberality. That's our necklace hoarder. On the other end, you have prodigality, wastefulness. That's the person who spends recklessly and ends up broke. Liberality is right in the middle. It's the sweet spot.
So the liberal man, in the classical Aristotelian sense, isn't just throwing cash in the air.
Not at all. Aristotle says the liberal man gives to the right people at the right time and where it is noble to give. It is strategic and it is generous. It's what we call clean flow.
Clean flow, which implies there is such a thing as dirty flow.
Oh, absolutely. Dirty flow is giving to get. It's giving with strings attached. Shinn warns against this explicitly. She talks about people who try to force a specific channel. I will be nice to this rich uncle so he leaves me money in his will. That's manipulation.
And Shinn says it backfires.
It always backfires.
Right.
The book of Proverbs says, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. And labor here implies diligence and honesty. Shinn warns against trying to force a specific outcome. For example, demanding a specific house.
Right, the woman who demanded that specific house.
She became obsessed with one particular house that wasn't hers by divine right. She manipulated the situation to get it. And what happened? It was a disaster. The house brought her nothing but unhappiness and problems. Shinn says you should ask for the right house, the divine selection.
It's about trust, then. Trusting that the universe or God knows the bigger picture better than you do.
And modern science backs up this whole idea of clean flow and generosity. Elizabeth Dunn at the University of British Columbia has done fantastic research on what she calls pro-social spending.
Pro-social spending, that sounds fancy.
It just means spending money on other people. She found conclusively that people are significantly happier when they spend money on others rather than on themselves.
Interesting.
But this connects right back to Aristotle. It only works if three needs are met: autonomy, competence, and relatedness.
Okay, break those down for me.
Autonomy. You have to choose to give. If you're forced to give, like through taxes, it doesn't give you that happiness boost. Competence. You need to see that your gift actually made a difference. And relatedness, it has to connect you to the person. So buying a coffee for a friend and sitting with them to drink it gives you a huge happiness boost.
And that happiness then boosts your vibration, which Shinn would argue attracts more prosperity.
It's a positive feedback loop. Giving opens the way for receiving. Joy is the frequency that the supply tunes into.
Okay, let's move to the second leg of that tripod. Speech, the role of words. Shinn has a very visual way of describing this. She says words are train tracks.
Yes. Words are the tracks the train of supply runs on. You are literally laying down the infrastructure for your future every single time you speak.
That is a little terrifying if you stop and think about the random stuff we say all day.
It is sobering. Shinn connects this directly to Proverbs. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. This isn't just poetry for her. She means it literally.
She tells that story about a woman who kept saying she was sick and tired.
Yes. This one had a nice home, but she was just overwhelmed by the housekeeping. So she kept complaining to her friends, "Oh, I'm so sick and tired of all this. I wish I lived in a trunk."
You have to be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. A few years later, she lost the house, she lost her money, and she ended up living in a tiny rented room, literally living out of a trunk.
Wow. She laid the tracks and the train arrived right on schedule.
She laid the tracks. Shinn says you have to use aligned statements. You have to speak statements that direct your attention and your subconscious mind toward what you want. So instead of "I'm broke," you have to say "God is my unfailing supply."
Now, the skeptics listening are going to say, okay, but just saying I'm rich doesn't magically put money in my bank account. There has to be a psychological component here, right? It's not just magic words.
Absolutely. This is where Albert Bandura comes in. He's a giant in psychology. He coined the term self-efficacy.
Self-efficacy.
It is your belief in your ability to succeed in a specific situation. And Bandura found that verbal persuasion affirmations, what we say to ourselves, can actually increase self-efficacy. When you speak with confidence, you start to believe you're capable. When you believe you're capable, you take different actions, you spot different opportunities.
So the words change your brain's filter, which then changes your behavior. It's like programming your reticular activating system.
Precisely. It builds the diligent hand that Proverbs talks about. It focuses your attention on the solution rather than letting it drown in the problem.
Which brings us perfectly to the third leg, the role of action. Because Shinn is very clear. You can't just sit on the couch and affirm yourself a Ferrari.
No, that's not how it works. She requires active faith.
Active faith. I like that.
The principle is this. You do the next right step instead of waiting for the perfect feeling.
Yeah.
You have to prepare for the thing you've asked for.
This is the digging ditches story. This is one of my favorites from the book.
Yes, it's a great one. It's from the Bible, the Book of Kings. There were 3 kings in the desert, and their armies were dying of thirst. They were done for.
Okay.
They asked the prophet Elisha for water, and Elisha told them, "Make this valley full of ditches." They had to dig the ditches before the rain came. They had to prepare the capacity to receive the water.
That is such a good metaphor. You have to dig the ditch to hold the water. If the rain came and they hadn't dug the ditches, the water would have just run off into the sand and been wasted.
Exactly. And Shinn has a modern example of this too. The woman with the stone seals.
Right. Tell that one.
A woman wanted money for Christmas gifts. She didn't have any money. But she went out and bought the little stone seals, the decorative stickers, and the twine to wrap the gifts.
She bought the wrapping paper before she even had the gifts to wrap.
She was digging a ditch. She was showing her subconscious, I am expecting this. This is happening. And sure enough, the money arrived just in time for her to buy the presents.
In modern psychology, this sounds a lot like what they call implementation intentions.
It's the exact same principle. Peter Gollwitzer's work. When you make a specific plan, if X happens, I will do Y. You are preparing your brain to act. You're digging an neural ditch. By buying the coin, that woman was creating a physical implementation intention. She was priming her brain to spot the opportunity to get the money.
I love that. So let's make this super practical. We have these high-level concepts. Let's look at 3 specific areas: work, relationships, and habits. How do we apply this law of prosperity to work?
Okay, let's look at work. The core concept here is reliability and skill building versus panic and comparison.
Comparison is the thief of joy, especially at work. It's so corrosive.
It is. Shinn tells the story of a machinery salesman. He went to a big meeting to sell a machine, and when he got there, a rival salesman was there with a better machine.
Oh, that's a nightmare scenario.
Total nightmare. Most people would panic. They would start bad-mouthing the competition. They'd get all stressed out. That is the scarcity mindset. But this man knew the law. He decided to practice non-resistance.
Non-resistance.
He mentally blessed his rival. He said, if this is the divine design, let the right machine win. He completely took his ego out of it. He just relaxed.
And what happened?
The rival's brand new superior machine broke down during the demo.
Of course it did.
And our guy sold his machine without any effort at all. But the point isn't that he somehow hexed the other guy. The point is that he didn't waste his energy on fear and competition. He stayed in his own lane. Shinn says you should focus on the divine design of your own work and do the work you love. She has a great term for work done only for money with contempt. She calls them pot boilers.
Pot boilers.
Work you do just to keep the pot boiling. She says pot boilers never bring true prosperity because the resentful energy you put into them poisons the result. You have to put love into the work.
Okay, example 2. Relationships. How does prosperity apply here?
This is all about generosity with boundaries versus scorekeeping.
Oh, scorekeeping is the absolute death of relationships. I paid for dinner last time, so you owe me this one.
Exactly. It turns it into a transaction. Aristotle talks about friendship and exchange. If you're constantly calculating the return on your investment, it's a business deal, not a friendship. Shinn says, every man is a golden link in the chain of my good.
That's a beautiful line.
It is. It means seeing people as partners and channels for your prosperity, not obstacles or competitors. But here is the tricky part of this. Clean receiving.
Clean receiving.
There was a woman who was very generous. She loved to give, but she refused to accept gifts. She had too much pride. Someone offered her a large gift of money, and she turned it down. Oh, no, I couldn't possibly.
She blocked the flow. She broke the circuit.
She broke the circuit, and shortly after, she found herself in debt for that exact same amount of money.
Wow.
Shinn says if you give, you must also be willing to receive. It's a loop. If you break the loop on the receiving end, you dam up the giving end too. Receiving gracefully is a spiritual act.
That is a hard lesson for a lot of people. We're taught it is better to give than receive. But Shinn is saying they are two sides of the exact same coin.
Precisely. And now, example 3. Habits.
This is where the rubber meets the road, isn't it?
It is. The concept here is steady stewardship instead of impulsive swings. Shinn says, order is heaven's first law.
Order.
You cannot be rich with a burnt match in the pincushion.
I love that specific detail. A burnt match in the pincushion. What a great image.
It represents clutter, chaos, a lack of care. If your wallet is full of old, crumpled receipts, if your desk is a disaster zone, you are signaling to the universe that you cannot properly handle what you already have. Why on earth would it give you more?
It connects right back to the book of Proverbs again. The diligent hand.
Yes. Proverbs contrasts the diligent hand with wealth that is gathered by vanity. Sudden windfalls, lottery wins. It says wealth gathered by labor, by diligent, steady stewardship increases. It's about the small habits of order, preparing the mind for big supply. If you want to be rich, start by cleaning your room.
Jordan Peterson would definitely agree with Florence Scovel Shinn on that one.
He would. It's about signaling competence to your own psyche. If I can manage this, I can manage more.
Okay, so we had the examples, but even when we know this stuff, we make mistakes. Let's run through the top 5 common mistakes people make when trying to apply this law.
Mistake number 1. Talking about lack. We've mentioned this. The fix is simple. Switch from old-fashioned chats to new-fashioned chats. Stop complaining. Start stating your desires.
Mistake number 2.
Hoarding. Keeping things just in case. The fix is circulation. Use the nice china. Wear the good shoes. Spend fearlessly, with intuition, on essentials or investments. You have to keep the energy moving.
Okay. Mistake number 3.
Dreading a debt.
This is a big one. Debt feels heavy. It feels like a trap you can't escape.
It does. But dreading it just makes it heavier. Shinn suggests you trust in the supply to cover it. You see the debt in your mind's eye as already paid. You thank the debt for the service it provided. Maybe it bought you a car or an education, and you release the resentment you have toward it.
Mistake number 4.
Resenting the wealthy.
We talked about this, the eat the rich mentality.
Shinn would say that is just broadcasting poverty consciousness out into the universe. The fix is to bless the prosperity of others. If you see someone succeeding, you have to train yourself to say, good for them. That means it's possible for me too.
And the final mistake, the big one.
Mistake number 5. Outlining the channel.
Explain that one more time.
That is telling the universe how to do its job. I need $50,000, and it absolutely has to come from winning the lottery. Or, I need a job, and it has to be at Google.
You're limiting all the other possibilities.
You are strangling the supply. The fix is to ask for the divine selection, or the equivalent. You trust the result, not the specific path. Maybe the money comes from an unexpected inheritance, or a business idea, or a gift from a friend. Don't micromanage the infinite.
I love that phrase, don't micromanage the infinite. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. I want to make this really actionable for everyone listening right now. We are going to do a prosperity reset.
A reset. I like it.
We're going to walk through 7 steps. And I want you, the listener, to actually do this with us. You can pause if you need to think about it.
Let's do it.
Step first. Name where you feel lack or pressure. Be honest. Is it a credit card bill? Is it your rent? Is it a feeling of emptiness in your career? Acknowledge it. Don't try to pretend it's not there.
Step next. Identify the fear script that's running behind it. What's the story you're telling yourself? Is it, I will never have enough? Is it, I'm not lucky? Is it, money is hard to get? You have to find the lie.
Step next. Choose one clean prosperity principle for the day. Just one. Pick one we talked about. Integrity, generosity, patience, diligence. Just pick your weapon for the day.
Step next. Speak one short, aligned statement that matches it. Shinn gives us a great one. God is my unfailing supply, and large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Or make up your own, but say it out loud. Feel it.
Step next. Take one small outward action that proves it. Dig a little ditch. Make the call you have been dreading. Buy the necessary item you've been putting off. Organize your wallet. Clean out the burnt matches from your pincushion. Do something physical.
Step next. Give one clean thing without erasing yourself. Give encouragement to a coworker. Make a small donation. Give your time to a cause. But do it with autonomy because you genuinely want to.
And finally, step next. Drop one contradiction just for today. Stop the complaint. Stop the doom scrolling about the economy. Stop the envy. Catch yourself in that old-fashioned chat and just stop talking.
That is a powerful protocol. If you do that for 7 days, you're going to see a shift. I guarantee it.
Absolutely. So let's bring it all home. We have covered so much. What are the key takeaways from all this?
Okay, let's summarize it. I think there are 7 main points.
Let's hear them.
First, prosperity is a law of giving and receiving, not a lottery. It has rules you can learn to play by.
Right.
Next, supply is infinite, but your capacity to receive is limited by your expectation. You have to expand the container first. That's a big one.
Next, words are the tracks the train of supply runs on. Watch your conversation like a hawk.
Fear and hoarding stop the flow. Fearless, intuitive use and circulation start it. Next, integrity is essential. Wealth obtained by vanity or manipulation will always diminish. It has to be clean.
Active faith means preparing for the result before it arrives. You have to dig the ditches. You have to buy the twine.
Yes.
And finally, intuition often provides the lead for the next logical step in wealth creation. You have to learn to listen to that hunch.
That is such a solid list. It really takes the mystery and the woo-goo feeling out of it. It moves it from hoping into playing.
That is the whole goal, to play the game well.
And playing well means actually enjoying the game.
It does. And remembering that the game isn't just about accumulation, it's about expression. It's about, as Shinn calls it, your perfect self-expression.
Which is the perfect setup for where we're going next.
Yeah.
But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We talked about digging ditches. We talked about preparing.
So the question is, what is one thing, one physical thing you can do today to prepare for the success you say you want? If you want to be a writer, have you cleaned your desk and opened a new document? If you want to travel, is your passport valid? Stop waiting for the rain. Go dig one little ditch.
I love that. Preparation is the ultimate act of faith.
Next time, on our third journey into this material, we're going to zoom in on one of the most powerful mechanics we touched on today. We are going to talk about the power of the word.
Oh, this is a great topic. We're going to go deep into how specific affirmations can actually reshape the subconscious and, as Shinn argues, even your physical health. It gets really fascinating.
You won't want to miss it. Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.